participant, and sorry for the slight delay due to the connectivity. So myself, Professor Neeraj Kumar, I am working in Thapar University, Patiala, India. So today we are going to discuss one of the most important paradigm, which is called as blockchain technology, which is widely used in various IoT applications. So we will discuss with the basic components of blockchain technology and also how this blockchain technology can be used in wide range of applications. So before moving further, these are two recent books on blockchain technology which are written by me. So one of those is all about the basic components of blockchain technology. Like this book is a very basic component. Has been written down in very lucid language about how you will use the blockchain technology. And second one is how you can use the probabilistic data structures for various types of blockchain based applications. So you can refer those books, and these will be very helpful for you to analyze or we can learn the blockchain technology. So what we are going to discuss? So we are going to discuss first of all blockchain technology, how it will be different from traditional database and blockchain ledgers. Basically, ledgers are used for record keeping mechanism. So how those ledgers are maintained and why there is a need of ledger maintained in blockchain technology, and how it will be different from the existing traditional database systems. Then two of the most important components that are widely used for construction of any blockchain technology are hash functions and digital signatures. So how these are being used in wide range of blockchain based application creations. And then obviously how the consensus based algorithms are used for verification and validations of different blockchain based transactions which exist or which maybe occur in different IoT based applications. So that also we will discuss. And lastly, we will discuss there may be various types of blockchain types. One of those is public blockchain. You can create your own blockchain which is public, private blockchain, or consortium based blockchain. So all these types of blockchain will be illustrated in detail. So we will start with the very basic part, that is from this particular part, that is blockchain technology. So how it will be different? So I mean to say here that earlier what happens is this, that in most of the times you will be based, or you are I mean to say dependent on traditional we can say database system which is centralized control. So this centralized control is the overall manager for maintaining all the transactions either with this party or this with this party, or maybe this to this party or maybe to this party. So these all these types of transactions are maintained by this centralized server, and this centralized server may be overhead or consisting of we can say scalability issue, and it may not have a fault issue also. For example, let's say this we can say this centralized server may go down, so who will take care of all these transactions records? So that will be a big challenge in front of the research community, that how to overcome these types of problems. So that's why a paradigm shift has been there, and that paradigm shift leads to the development of the blockchain technology, which says that there is no need of this centralized control to be maintained. Rather, what we can do is that the records are maintained, or each party which is participating in this chain can maintain their own record, and after this these records are digitally signed, and these transactions are part of the ledger, so which are verified and validated by these parties. So once these parties verify and validate those transactions, so they will verify each other's roles, and then this whole concept is based upon this simple fundamental concept, which is based upon the decentralized mechanism. So this decentralized mechanism is nothing but a type of network where each node maintains their own ledgers, and then these ledgers maintains different types of transactions, and these transactions are verified and validated by all the parties which are participating in this blockchain network. So based upon this simple concept, the first inception of blockchain was or cryptocurrency was introduced back in 2008 by Satoshi Nakamoto. He gives the concept of electronic cash system. So this electronic cash system is nothing but how we can transfer the amount or electronic cash from or cryptocurrency from one account to another account, and how it is maintained across different peers. So this was introduced by the introduction of this Bitcoin, and then with the help of this Bitcoin, we can maintain and verify in all those transactions part. So this was the we can say earlier electronic cash system which was introduced, and after this there are a lot of cryptocurrencies that comes into place that we will illustrate in the next slide. So why the introduction of different types of cryptocurrency or digital currency has been there in market? So because it is cryptocurrencies are fast, they are internationally recognized, they are also easy accounting, and they are cheap. So there are enormous number of cryptocurrency nowadays you can see in the market that exist. So that is create the popularity of these networks, that how to maintain these cryptocurrencies with respect to sending and from one part to another part. But on the other hand, there may be some problems associated on digital cryptocurrencies also, that it will be very difficult to maintain the network infrastructure which is used to send the information from one user to another user, and hacker can also capitalize the amount which is being transmitted. So uh, I mean to say here, these are some sort of challenges which needs to be taken care of, introduction of some foolproof mechanism, which is based upon designing your own cryptocurrency based mechanism, which is based upon blockchain technology. So uh, basically, if we have to identify that how the centralized banking system has been overcome now with the introduction of this blockchain technology. So you can see that it can be used. It can be used. It can be used with the help of cash or maintenance of all those cash with the help of ledgers, and these ledgers are used for nothing but these are used for record keeping mechanism. So once this record keeping mechanism has been used, so we can keep track of all those transactions which has been made or which has been committed by the end users on those blockchain networks itself. So we can say blockchain networks would look like this. So that is it may be like this peer-to-peer type of networks. So these peer-to-peer type of networks would be consisting of this would be consisting of this type of mechanism. So this type of mechanism is that each of these nodes are treated as one of the peer nodes. So these peer nodes would be consisting of maintaining of digital record from one end to another end. So these nodes share the information with each other. Like for example, this node would be transferring the information from this node to this node, and this node would be used for transferring the information from one user to another users. So these are mentioned as nodes. So nodes may be that these are some computing device. So these computing device may be your PC, maybe your devices, or maybe GPUs, anything else, anything that is able to compute can be part of the blockchain. So you can see that all these nodes are used in verification and validations, and then they are maintaining their own ledgers. So these ledgers are used to maintain the record of all those transactions which are supposed to be committed by these nodes. So transactions are nothing but, let's say I want to transfer some information or some electronic cash from one user to another user. So these can be transferred from this node to this node, and during this process it will use the existing network based infrastructure, that is peer-to-peer types of network, and then uh, manage all those transactions which are supposed to become as a part of this blockchain networks on in between these nodes. But if you imagine that what exists in the earlier part, so earlier part is that we have this centralized system. So using this centralized system, whole of the transactions will be maintained or controlled by a centralized node, and then all of these nodes will be sharing this information with the centralized node like here itself, right? So you can have a clear edge that how we have a traditional, or how we have a paradigm shift from this centralized node on infrastructure to this peer-to-peer type of networks, where we have all the stakeholders participate in this verification and validation process for performing various types of operations. So this is a distributed ledger technology. So how does if we have to formally we can say define blockchain technology, so we can define this with the help of breaking down this name of blockchain into two parts. So it is nothing but it is a chain of blocks. So this chain of blocks is nothing but this can be represented at here, like one block is this is block number 2, this is block number 3, this is block number 4. So these blocks are interconnected with each other. So I mean to say here that if let's say this block 1 is there, block 2 is there, block 3 is there, block 4 is there, so let's say block number n is also there. So all of these blocks are interconnected with each other, and these blocks are interconnected using hash algorithm. So one of the most important part of creation of any blockchain is that you needs to maintain two cryptographic functions. That is, one is digital signature, that is used to keep track of all those transactions which are committed by a particular node or block, and or we can say particular node itself, rather we can say a particular block. Then second part is this, that each of the hash value of a particular block is maintained by the next block. Then the hash value of this block is with the on this particular block, hash value of this block is on this. So I mean to say here that these blocks are interconnected with each other using the simple concept that the hash value of one block is maintained by another block, hash value of another block is maintained by another block, hash value of this block will be maintained by another block. So you can see that if we have this types of concept where the hash value of one of those block is maintained by some other blocks, and then we can have the integration between different blocks. So this will make a sense that we have a chain, and this chain is nothing but it is a chain of hash values which are maintained by different blocks itself. So it will create a complete chain which is maintained on the blockchain networks by different peer nodes. So with the help of this digital signature and with the help of these hash function values, we can maintain our own blockchain networks, and using those blockchain networks we can be easily keep track of all the transactions which are supposed to become as a part of the blockchain in a blockchain networks itself. So this will be a beauty of this using of this blockchain technology. And the most important part is that the hash value that is being used in this blockchain networks is SHA-256 hash value. So what is SHA-256 hash code? So if we will have an infinite length of string, so this infinite length of string would be converted into fixed length string. So this fixed length string is 256-bit hash code. So this 256-bit hash code is named by the algorithm SHA-256. So this 256-bit code is stored on this block, and this hash value of this is stored at here. This is SHA-256, and the process goes on like this. So all in all, what I can say is that all of these blocks are integrated or connected with each other, and they are integrated or connected with each other in the sense that hash value of one block is maintained by another block, and this block also have its own transactions also. So these transactions are also maintained by this block, and then this block hash value is maintained by some other block. So it means to say that all these blocks are interconnected, and these are connected with each other using hash functions or hash value, which will make a chain of all those blocks which are maintained on any blockchain network. So this will gives you a clear idea that how this blockchain can be maintained. So basically, if we can say that blockchain is nothing but it is consisting of a public database which is maintained by all of these peers nodes, and these peers nodes are stakeholders. They are used to maintain the record of all those transactions which are committed from these nodes, and then based upon this part they will perform various types of operations. So this is the general idea of any blockchain networks. So let's see how this a simple transactions can be performed on the blockchain networks. So you can see that, let's say I have to transfer some finite number of Bitcoin from one user to another user. So how it will happen? So this will happen with the help of this simple mechanism that you can see. Let's say I have started from this, so this is from which I have to transfer the amount. So this amount would be transferred to this particular recipient itself. So you can see that if I have initiated certain transactions, which is peer-to-peer types of network. So once these transactions had been broadcasted on this blockchain network, so every PS is associated with verification and validations of those transactions, whether those transactions are permitted, valid or not. So if those transactions are permitted and validated, then these transactions obviously would be part of the blockchain. So what it can do is that they will these nodes will verify and validate those transactions, and then integrate those transactions into block, and then this block will be verify and validated, and verify and after verification and validation, this block will becomes as a part of this blockchain network. So this you can see that after verification and validations by some consensus algorithm, these blocks which had been verified and validated by these peer nodes, they are supposed to become such a part of the blockchain. Until and unless these blocks have been not been verified, so they will become such a part of the blockchain only when they have been verified and validated by those transaction itself, because because once those transactions had been broadcasted on this blockchain network, so they've been verified or integrated in a block, and from this block is verified and validated by all these peers nodes using some consensus based algorithm. So once those consensus based algorithm verify and validate those transactions, so then only these will become as a part of the blockchain. Otherwise they will not become as a part of the blockchain. So once they have been verified and validated, then they will become as a part of the blockchain like at here. Size of the blockchain will go on increasing after verification and validations of the block, and these blocks are added at the end of this blockchain. So you can see at here that after verification and validations, once those had been part of the blockchain, then this transaction had been committed, and this is reached to this end users itself. So this is the complete procedures that how a simple transactions, let's say I have to transfer some finite amount to a particular person, can be committed on the blockchain networks with the help of verification and validation and using execution of consensus-based algorithms on any blockchain networks. So you can see that I have given you example that how the size of this blockchain goes on increasing. So this is the existing blockchain network. So after verification and validation, this new block is supposed to become just a part of the blockchain. So this will be added at the end of the chain, and after adding at the end of the chain, the size of the chain will go on increasing. So if you take an example of the Ethereum blockchain network, so it has been found that after every 10 seconds we have a new block that is to be added on Ethereum blockchain networks, and once this once this block has been added at the end of the chain, so size of the chain is going on increasing. So uh, obviously this block which is supposed to become just a part of the blockchain needs to be verified by some consensus based algorithm, and these consensus based algorithms, let's say if you are using POW, that is proof of work, or you can use proof of stake, or you can use other blockchain networks or consensus based algorithm. So in each of these consensus based algorithm, let's say if we are using POW, so more than 51% vote should be there in favor of you for execution of this what we call as uh, this verification process for adding of this block as the end of the chain itself. So every first block of blockchain is called as a genesis block. So after this, the first block, second block, and subsequent blocks may also going on increasing. So there are four basic components of any blockchain for what you want to create it out. So first one is distributed shared ledger. So as I have already mentioned that each node or each peer maintain their own records, so or their own ledger. So this ledger is used to maintain the record of all those transactions which are supposed to be committed by this peer node. So this contain we can say a shared ledger which is shared among all these peers. So all these peers will share a common ledger using which they will be maintaining their own records of all those transactions which are supposed to become just a part of the blockchain. So this is a peer-to-peer type of networks, and in this peer-to-peer type of networks, you can see that all the records are maintained, and this is just like a data structure which is used to maintain all those records, and we can check it out the we can say number of transactions which are committed by those nodes in a particular blockchain networks. Then second part is the cryptographic mechanism. So the cryptographic mechanism is used to keep track of integration of different types of blocks. So as I have already mentioned that there are two types of we can say two types of cryptographic hash mechanism that are being used on the blockchain networks. One is hashing, second is digital signatures. So hashing is just like a concept that all of us know, that if we have a variable length string, let's say we have a variable length string here itself, and after applying of hash function we get some fixed length string. So this fixed length string is nothing but some code associated with that. So that code is in this case is 256-bit code hash value. So this hash value had been used in this blockchain networks itself. So I mean to say here that I mean to say here that this hash value will be used for verification and validations of the records which are maintained by distributed ledgers itself. So I mean to say here that with the help of these two mechanisms, like distributed shared ledger and cryptographic hash, we can maintain the record. We can maintain the record of all those transactions which are supposed to become as a part of the blockchain on the blockchain networks itself. So third part is the smart contract. So you can see that if we will have all those all those blocks which are supposed to become as a part of this blockchain network, so these transactions so we can see that we have the third basic component, that is smart contracts. So these smart contract are used to verify and validate those transactions which are supposed to become as a part of the blockchain. So I hope you are aware of smart contracts. So smart contract are simple contract, just for example, I'm giving a very simple example. Like for example, if we have a land registration system, so there is some service providers and there is some sort of contract that is to be written between buyers and sellers. So those buyers and sellers agree on some conditions, like for example, on some pricing value or maybe some other terms and conditions. So these terms and conditions needs to be verified and validated in the form of a legal document which is maintained by a third party. So all those terms and conditions which had been written in this argument, in this we can say document, that needs to be verified and validated by the third party auditor system, and then these third party auditor system will maintain all those records. So this smart contract will be maintained or by to some verification process of all those terms and conditions which has been written by this legal document. So for example, if you are trying to write down blockchain for, let's say, car buying system, so all those terms and conditions, value of the car, price, etc., all those should be written with respect to certain conditions, and those conditions has been written down in some pen and paper in the language. So the programming language that is used for writing down the smart contract is on Ethereum platform is Solidity. So Solidity is a programming language where there is a mixture of C, C++, and Java. So in this Solidity programming language, you can write down your own smart contract, and this smart contract will be verified and validated by using some consensus-based algorithm. So consensus-based algorithm is that how many votes have been there in the favor of me. So for example, let's say we have 5 nodes which are participating in blockchain network. So if out of these 5 nodes, 3 are in the, let's say these are 5 nodes in the blockchain networks, and out of these 5 nodes, let's say 3 of these nodes are in the favor of execution or adding of new transaction as a part of the blockchain. So in that case, you can say that transaction would be committed. But On the other hand, if out of these 5 nodes, only 2 are in the favor of adding a transaction as a part of the blockchain, then that particular transaction cannot become as a part of the blockchain, or that particular block cannot become as a part of the blockchain. So I mean to say here, there are different types of terms and conditions. There are different types of conditions which needs to be maintained for adding of a particular block as a part of the blockchain, and that defines the conditions that how we can use different types of consensus based algorithm for verification and validations of transactions in any blockchain networks. So one of the consensus based algorithm that has been widely used on Ethereum platform is POW. We can also have POS. We also have proof of burn. There are various types of I mean to say here consensus based algorithm that can be used for verification and validation of different types of blocks that are supposed to become as a part of the blockchain networks in any scenario, right? So I hope this point is clear, right? So you can see that blockchain technology, as we have already discussed, uh, blockchain technology has been used for peer-to-peer types of network mechanism. So these types of network mechanism is used to verify and validate those transactions which can be maintained at different nodes itself, right? And the traditional centralized database system, let's say this traditional database system is there, so we have a centralized node. Using this centralized node, all of these different peers trying to access this centralized database systems. This centralized ledger is maintained at this end itself. So, but the paradigm shift has been there, and we now we have this distributed file system where we have each of this is based upon peer-to-peer based systems. So this peer-to-peer based system is based upon distributed ledgers itself. So you can see that this is a distributed ledgers. This is a distributed shared ledger which is maintained by each of these nodes. So each of these nodes maintain these distributed ledgers, and using this distributed ledger, we can have the maintenance of this particular type of scenario itself in a peer-to-peer networks, right? So uh, with the inception of this blockchain technology, we have different types of generation of blockchain technology also. Like for example, earlier we are talking about blockchain 1.0, where this blockchain 1.0 has been used primarily for financial applications. But nowadays, not only it has been used for financial based applications, but it has been used for non-financial applications also, where we did not have the financial amount associated with that. So it's not restricted only to transferring of some finite cryptocurrency from one account to another account, but it can be used to maintain and secure the records associated for a particular application. So that's why there had been a different types of generation revolution in the blockchain technology, right, starting from the inception from back in 2008. So in 2008, it was restricted only to with respect to what we can say the cryptocurrency association and transferring it from one user to another user. So that's why at that particular instance of time, the blockchain 1.0 revolution was there. And obviously, when we target different generations of blockchain, right, starting from blockchain 1.0 to 2.0 to 3.0, and blockchain nowadays we are talking about blockchain 5.0. So this will consisting of the underlying network infrastructure should be very strong. So I mean to say here that let's say these are the different devices which are interconnected in different network domains. So these devices are used to transfer the we can say data from one end to another end, and these devices when these devices are interconnected with each other and they are used to transfer the data from one end to another end, so they will be these devices require a high end we can say network infrastructure which can transfer the data in fraction of seconds. So that's why in different generation, right? Starting from 1.0 to 2.0 to blockchain 5.0, we have the underlying 2G, 3G, 4G or 5G bandwidth spectrum would be required, which is used to transfer the huge amount of data in a fraction of seconds. So that's why you can see the upcoming 5G or 6G technology, which is in the we can say trial stages, and you can see the revolution of this 5G and 6G in the upcoming years. So there will be not be a difficulty that all of these devices can transfer the data at a rapid pace, and because with the inception of this 6G technology, trillions of devices are interconnected with each other, and they are transferring the huge amount of data at a rapid pace within a fraction of seconds. So it will be very easy process in the upcoming years when we create this blockchain technology, that all these peer nodes will get the shared ledger in a fraction of second, and then these peers node then will be using the consensus based algorithm for verification and validations of different blocks as a part of the blockchain technology. So the underlying network infrastructure obviously consisting of different types of protocols. So one of those protocols is TCP/IP protocol, which is used to maintain the handshaking mechanism between different nodes, and also the HTTP protocol is being used, and not only HTTP protocol had been used in cloud computing part, it's also used for big data computation, IoT, and fintech based applications. So this will give you the overall we can say architecture or overall view of usage of blockchain, how these components can be integrated with each other in a blockchain networks itself. So I hope this point is clear, that how these revolutions or blockchain architecture has been revolutionized across different verticals in different years, right, starting from its inception from one end to another end. Then usually what happens is that we have the traditional Bitcoin system, and we also have the current banking system. So we can have some glimpses that how we can differentiate these two with each other. So you can see that the traditional banking system is based upon centralized architecture. So this consisting of public ledgers. So these public ledgers hold the transactions details of all the transaction which happens on the blockchain, and it is open and completely accessible. So you can see that the verification of every individual transaction needs to be maintained, and this verification of each and every transaction needs to be maintained by some consensus based algorithm by the PS node. So these PS nodes obviously maintains some we can say consensus based algorithm using which they will be able to transfer the different types of so these transactions which are supposed to become as a part of the public ledger, they needs to be verified and validated. So this verification and validation must be done with the help of the common consensus algorithm that we have already discussed. So every transaction which are supposed to become as a part of the blockchain, that needs to be a part of some ledgers, and these ledgers are common ledgers, and these ledgers will be verified and validated by these nodes with the help of some consensus based algorithms. And obviously through the usage of several complex encryption and decryption algorithms and hashing algorithm, the issue of double spending would also be eliminated. So these are some key advantages of I mean to say here that how we can use the blockchain technology in the traditional banking system and the current banking system, which are supposed to become as a part of the blockchain. So there may be some we can say key business benefits of using of blockchain, and one of those is that is it is time saving, because each transactions can be verified and validated in fraction of seconds. uh, and there are different types of we can say miners associated who are solving a complex we can say complex problems, and once those complex problems has been solved it out, so we can have we can say adding of new block at the end of the blockchain. And it is also cost saving. So cost saving is also one of the key benefits of using of blockchain in different applications. Like for example, you do not have to go to anywhere for verification and validation of those transactions. Those transactions can be verified and validated by sitting at your home itself. Uh, so I mean to say here those the key benefit of this uses of this blockchain technology. And it's also maintain tight security mechanisms. It also enhance the security and privacy. It also improve the auditability. It also increase the operational efficiency. So those are the key benefits of using of blockchain technology. And this blockchain technology will be can be a we can say key component or key assets for verification validations of different transactions, which can be used in different applications itself. So whenever we are building trust for the blockchain, so it should be there must be some points associated with that, and one of those is that it must be a distributed and sustainable association with that. Second is it should be a secure, private, and ineditable. So we cannot edit a block or transactions which are a property of the blockchain, that if we add a particular block as a part of the blockchain, so those transactions or those blocks are becomes a permanent we can say block of that particular chain itself, so they cannot be modified later on. So that's one of the property of this blockchain technology. So third one is transparent and auditable. So uh, transparent and auditable, so we can write down your own smart contract which can be auditable with respect to adding of new values. So that should also be there, and consensus based algorithm should also be there, which are used to verify and validate the transactions as a part of the blockchain. And it should be flexible in a particular scenario itself. So how does the structure of a blockchain would look like? So structure of blockchain would be consisting of connection of different blocks. So this block, I mean to say here, consisting of some finite number of components. So or finite number of attributes. So those attributes can be listed at here. So it consisting of a blockchain hash value. So first one part is blockchain. We can say header is there. That blockchain header is nothing but it is a number which is used to maintain the size of number of the block, like block number 1574, block number 1575, and the other blocks also. And then we have a block hash value is also there. So this hash value is computed again with respect to finite string. So if we have an infinite string, so after this infinite string, once we pass this hash value to that particular block, then this will be we will generate some code associated with that, and that is SHA-256 bit code, which is maintained at this particular end itself. Then we have some finite number of transactions. These finite number of transactions are supposed to become as a part of the blockchain, and the associated hash value would also be there. So this will create a clear picture in your mind that how this blockchain block is maintained at different end. So these blocks will be used for used to maintain the different records of transactions on that particular blockchain, and also they will maintain their own hash value. So using those hash value, those particular types of transactions can be maintained on a blockchain networks. Hello, I'm audible.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Just got on some problem in the transition of from one slide to another slide. I'm again sharing. Just the structure of the block would look like this. So for example, we have block IDs there, right? And we have block hash values there, previous hash value would be there, and there are finite number of transactions which are supposed to become as a part of the blockchain. So those are the some structure of the blockchain part itself. So let's say if we have to transfer some finite amount from one user to another user, so this can be initiated from one user. So let's say the users initiate transactions using their own digital signature. So digital signature would be used for identifications of the users on any blockchain networks itself. So they broadcast those transactions to the nodes. Once they broadcast their transaction to the node, so one or no more nodes for being used for verification and validations of those transactions. So these transactions are broadcasted on these blockchain networks, and then these nodes are used for verification and validation of those transactions. So those after verification and validations of those transactions, these nodes aggregate the validated transactions as a part of the block itself. So you so you can see that nodes aggregate the validated transaction into the blocks, and these nodes broadcast the block to each other. And then you can see that once nodes broadcasted block to each other, so we can use the consensus based algorithm for verification and validations, and then finally this will become as a part of the blockchain. So this will be a complete, we can say, life cycle of any transactions we just representative mechanism, starting from the scanning of QR code, we can the full functional, we can say, operation across different nodes with respect to the maintenance of the blockchain network. So simplified structure of the ledger would look like this. So for example, you can see the earlier ledger would look like this. We need to maintain our own record in terms of pen and paper, down your own smart contract in some smart in smart contract in Solidity programming language, right? So those are some sort of glimpses of this. So if we talk about distributed ledger technology, obviously we will have a different generation, right? Starting from 2008, now we are dealing with 2020 and onwards. So you can see there are different generations which has comes from defining the blockchain to adopt this blockchain technology in completely fully automated systems, which we are talking nowadays. So back in 2008, it was used only for financial applications, but with the gradual increase in the number of users which are starting those or we are using different applications, there is a need that how to maintain the security and privacies of all those transactions which are supposed to come as a part of the as a part of sharing of information between different devices. So when we have these types of concept that sharing of information becomes a paramount concern in front of the research community. So the need of the distributed ledger technology also comes into play. So these distributed ledger technologies, you can see that the uses of this distributed ledger technology will be seen in the years in completely automation system also. For example, if you are using a robotic arms or if you are using a completely autonomous system, so it may be possible that hacker can take a control of the fully automated system and he can play or he can inject some fast code in those automated systems, and he can they can also control the working completely. Be a completely disaster if the control goes into the hands of the attackers or some we can say wrong person or misleading person. So there is a need that we should use the distributed ledger technology, which has found to be made I mean to say, which is found to be successful in defending various types of attacks, or it can be used for we can say managing different types of records on this particular part itself. So that's why you can see the focus of the research communities has been there on the usage of distributed ledger technologies in different applications. So if we can check that how this to go to the directly that to the structure of the block. So structure of the block would look like this. So let's say we have different types of blocks. Let's say block number 101, block number 199, 98, and let's say block number 0 or block number 1 is there. Block number 1 is there. So you can see that each of these block have some number, that is the block version is there, some nonce value is there which is used by the miner to uh, mine that particular mine a particular block means to say that verify the transactions which are supposed to become as a part of the blockchain. So some of the transactions may be bogus, some of the transactions may be valid, some of the transactions may not be valid. So which transactions are valid and which transactions are supposed to become as a part of the block, so that will be a computational
difficult problem and difficult sounds. So those mining algorithms will be tried and tested by each of these miners at different locations. So once those miners have been successful, hello, I'm audible now. Hello.
Yes, sir, you are audible.
And how much time is left for me?
Around about 15 minutes.
Do till 11 o'clock. उसके बाद question session है.
11 o'clock. Okay. So I mean to say here that this generalized structure will give you that how this block structure would look like this. So we have the nonce value that is associated with respect to the miner. So these miners will mine that particular block. Mine a particular block means to say that they needs to find a particular hash value which is above the threshold value. So for example, let's say we have some let's say the threshold value. So trying out all the transactions whose value is below this threshold value, so they will not supposed to become as a part of the blockchain or block or any block. So they will be discarded, and the transaction hash value has been above this threshold value. So these transactions will become such a part of the blockchain. So let's say we have different types of would be teach. So out of these, all of these participating miners, one of those miners will win, and he will be awarded with some finite number of Bitcoin. So this is the simple mechanism using which we can say this nonce is based upon, and previous hash value is also associated from the previous blocks. Timestamp is also there. Then we have finite number of transactions which are supposed to become as a part of the blockchain. So this is the complete picture of I mean to say a block which is part of the blockchain, or we can say which is supposed to become such a part of the blockchain in a blockchain networks itself. Okay. So this is the point I have already discussed. Block is a collection of transactions on the Bitcoin networks and gathered into a block that are hashed, and part of the blockchain will becomes part. So mining is again a difficult process. So mining is done by some miners. So miners on the network select some transactions from the pools and form them into the block. But question here is that which transactions he should add into the block. That will becomes a question, and that is to be solved some by some computational difficult problem and some by using some threshold value. So using that threshold value he or she will be able to solve or tell that which transactions will become as a part of this block itself, right? So this will be a computational difficult problems, and out of this computational difficult problem, so let's say 100 miners are associated in finding out that which are the transactions which are supposed to become as a part of the blockchain. So out of these 100 miners, one of those miner will win, and he or she will be rewarded with those finite number of bitcoins in each pocket. So minor task is to find out the appropriate transactions which are supposed to become such a part of the block. And in this part you can see that different forks can also be applied, which is creation of alternating version of the blockchain by creating two blocks simultaneously on different types of networks. Because ultimately what will happen that, let's say, one network is at here, one network is at here, one network is at here. So what will happen that it will create two blocks simultaneously. Let's say one block has been created at here, one block has been created at here. So simultaneously we are maintaining basically two blockchain, one on this networks, one on this networks, or maybe three blockchain, one on this network. So similarly I can create one block at here. So this concept is called as a fork, where different types of we can say blockchain has been created on different blockchain networks simultaneously, and this is called as a parallel blockchain part, where those will be a winning we can say blockchain. It should not be there that all of these three blockchain can be maintained at simultaneously interval of time, but these blockchain out of these blockchain there is a competition that who will be the winner. So out of these blockchain, one of those those will be a winner, and he will cater all types of I mean to say here transactions which are supposed to become as a part of the blockchain network. So that will sort of for if we maintain different blockchain or different blocks on the blockchain networks, that maintaining of parallel blockchain, so one of those will becomes a winner, and that will be used to maintain the records. And if we can see that on the Bitcoin networks also we have a different types of attributes that are supposed to become as a part of the blockchain. Like we have a block header is also there, transaction count is there, block content is also there. Those are supposed to become as a part of the blockchain. And if we check out what should be the inside structure of the block, so it consisting of block time is there, number of transactions which have been completed, difficulty level, how much difficulty level is there, how much gas value would be required, hash value is there, version is there, marker hash is used for verification and validation of transactions. So all those we can say attributes are supposed to become as a part of the blockchain on a Bitcoin networks itself. So this is the generalized structure of Bitcoin. So we can skip this part, and the overall complete life structure of we can say starting from one end to another end would look like this. So this will be the complete picture of the different types of steps that are being performed in financial application, like starting from this user who want to transfer some finite number of Bitcoin to the another users, let's say at this end. So we can scan some QR code at this part, and using this QR code we are taking the public identity of a particular person, and then it fills the amount, and then using this fills the amount, it will send that amount to the particular user. So these transactions are broadcasted on different machines, and these machines then verify and validate those transactions, and then miners include the transactions in the next blocks to be mined, and then mining time would also be counted into that particular part, and finally these are transferred to the relevant users itself. So you can see the complete life cycles of blockchain networks
or blockchain transactions for cryptocurrency transformations would be like this. So the most important part nowadays is networks that is being used for public dealing with respect to the blockchain maintenance is Ethereum based blockchain networks, which is proposed by Vitaly Buterin. He was a Russian guy, and the most common language that is used to write down the smart contract on Ethereum platform is Solidity platform. So Solidity platform is platform, not we cannot say it's platform, but it is a language basically. So language, it is mixture of C++, Java and JavaScript. So the same construct that we are going to use in different programming language, like it should have some data types, it should have typecasting, it should have some construct functions, subroutines to call it. And all those constructs are already available for writing down your own smart contract in this Solidity programming language. So it is very powerful language in which we can write down your own smart contract, which can be verified and validated using Ethereum virtual machines. So blockchain technology can be used in different applications, like it can be used for decentralized apps also, and it can be used for transaction and smart contract ledgers. And cryptocurrency that has been used in Ethereum is Ether, and that is one of the platform that is being used for execution of different smart contract is with the help of Ethereum virtual machine. So EVM is used to construct or execution of smart contracts. And this is the traditional structure of the smart contract. Not smart contract, basically it's a simple contract. So let's say two parties are associated with that. So all those has written in traditional contract with pen and paper, and then there is some audit control mechanisms, and then there is some executions or authorities there who will execute all those smart contracts. So you can see that in these types of traditional contract system, we will have different types of what we call as chain cycles is there, like different types of smart contract has to be different types of contract has been written using pen and paper and using audit and then executions. But if we have to maintain these types of contract in using some smart contract, so this can be with the help of writing down the smart programs. And these smart programs are software programs which had been written down in Solidity programming language. And using the Solidity programming language, we can write down those smart contract with the help of what we call as what we call as what we call as the execution of the smart contract on this Ethereum platform itself. So these are software programs which can be used to define the terms and condition, and using audit mechanism we can audit these smart programs, and finally these are executed on some Ethereum virtual machines, and compilers and execution part is also there. So I hope we can stop at here, and in the next lecture itself, we will continue from this discussion onwards. If you have any questions, so please raise your questions. I will be happy to answer your queries. Any queries?
Okay, then. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for attending this session. So in the next lecture, we will continue with the discussion from smart contract writing down in Solidity programming language.
Thank you, Dr. Neeraj Thapar, sir. Thank you for this amazingly enriching session on network science, exploring various aspects of it, like the Bitcoin, blockchain technology, and all. We would also like to thank all the listeners and attendees here, for it would not have been possible to conduct this session without them. Now, I would also like to request all the attendees here to fill the feedback form so that the management can ensure of their attendance. Now, before falling off the curtain, I would also like to thank all of the support staff, support members for the smooth conduction of this event. And now, before ending this session, I would like to request all of the attendees to take a break so that they could come very well freshen up the next session.
Excuse me.
Let's pause.
Excuse me,
Yes.
sir.
I think we have a question here.
Oh yes, of course.
Yeah, I should just wait. I would like to request Neeraj sir to answer this question. So we have a question: how can we use blockchain for fake news?
For fake news detection, first of all, you see that we need to collect the data set associated with speculative sentiments of different peoples, and then we can write down the smart contract for those fake news part. And then once those smart contract has been written in Solidity programming language, then these can be verified and validated by all the participating node whether the authenticity of that news is correct or not based upon certain credentials. So once those had been verified and validated, then only these news can be specified that if it is a fake news or it is a valid node itself, because all of these nodes which are participating in this blockchain networks needs to verify the authenticity of that particular node from different sources itself.
Very well. Then, any other queries?
Yeah, thank you, sir, for addressing the query. So if we have any other queries, you can post in the group or in the chat box here, or you can also raise your hands. Okay, thank you so much, sir, for this wonderful session.
We'll be starting our session in a short while. The next session, participants are requested to stay connected.